Hello class, Mr. Young here, and we have a lot to go over today, so we're going to get right to it. We just talked about spam, very exciting. I've never eaten it myself, but I hear it's delightful. When we talk about economics, you basically start with three questions. You say, what do we make, how do we make it, and who's going to use it? If you don't have one of those things, then you don't really have an economy, you don't have a product. For example, if there's no current demand for toad boogers, then you have the question there, who's going to use it? No one, so you don't have that, so you don't have a product, and then you don't have an economy. You're not going to make any money. If I decided everyone needs shoes made from porcupine hide, right there, if there simply are not enough porcupines to create the shoes, well then we're not answering this one. How do we make it? Well, you need porcupines, but there aren't enough porcupines, so it's not going to happen. You basically need to be able to answer those three questions, and then you have something. Let's talk about resources and production. In order to make goods or offer services, you need resources. There are four major types of resources. Land, and that is the Earth's surface and its resources, like water, gold, timber, anything like that, any natural resource. Labor is the ability of people to do work, like a beekeeper collecting honey, or a man working in a factory building a car. That's labor. I'm doing labor right now. I'm doing my job. Teaching. Capital is money and goods used to create the product. It can literally be money. Do I have money? Yep, it can literally be money. Right here. Or the machinery to do the work, like my computer, which is right here. Entrepreneurship is the most obscure of the resources of production, but perhaps the most important. That is basically the man or woman running the business, running the show, and there's a lot of risk involved. They have to have the guts and responsibility to run the business and accept the risks of failure. So there you have land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Four resources. This brings us into supply and demand, and there are two questions on this quiz that's coming up on supply and demand. So pay attention. Supply and demand are a simple pair. Supply is how much the producer wants to sell, and demand is how much the consumer wants to buy. Ideally, you make as much as people want to buy. That's called equilibrium. You can see that here on the chart below. You've got your supply, you've got your demand. Where they meet, equilibrium. That means that you're making as much as people want to buy. Once you get off that equilibrium, prices start to change. For example, if there's too much of a product, then supply has exceeded demand. The price of a product will drop. For example, bathing suits are all on sale right now at the stores because the pools are closed, so people don't want to buy bathing suits. As a result, prices go down. So if you have a lot of something that nobody wants, price goes down. On the other end of the spectrum, think about those Kanye shoes, the Yeezys. They only make a very limited number of Yeezys, and they are very popular. As a result, they are what one might call stupid expensive. So now we have a product, there's very little of it, but people really want it, so the price goes up. Think of that as any rare item. Like if you collect Pokemon cards, there's not a lot of, I don't know, it's been so long since I saw a Pokemon card. Say Blastoise used to be a very popular card. There weren't very many of them, so if you wanted to buy a Blastoise on eBay, it was really expensive because everyone wanted one, but there weren't very many around. Some good example. That actually brings us into what we call product scarcity. You might be familiar with the word already in another context. One might say that water is scarce in the desert. There's not a lot of it. It's the same meaning in economics. Water is scarce in the desert, so it is very valuable. Yeezys are scarce in stores, so they are, as a result, very valuable. One more big word in economics that we want to talk about is opportunity cost. This is defined as what you give up to make or buy a product. But it can be described in many other ways. The opportunity cost of me going to work today is that I'm not spending about 9 hours with my wife and kid. Maybe I miss a nice walk, or a trip to the park, that's the opportunity cost of me being here. But on the other hand, had I stayed at home, the opportunity cost would have been maybe I get fired, so maybe I lose my job. This lesson that I created today, that would be part of the opportunity cost. Everything I missed out on by making the other choice. So let's try an example in business. I have machinery that makes sports balls, but I can only make one type of ball at one time. I decide to make baseballs today. The opportunity cost of making baseballs today would be the money I could have made making footballs instead. But I have to decide as the business owner, what can I make more money on? What's in right now, baseball or football? And the opportunity cost is everything I could have gained with the other choice. So that's a lot for one page. So we're going to put the rest of the content on the next page. There'll be a video there too.